Hi guys, Bob here again, flying solo. Slightly different video for you today, a couple of things. I want to show you a new gadget I've got, which I'm rather impressed with. Really good value, and anyone can have it, and quite fun. And the second thing is, I'm going to do a little demo of this chap behind me here, which is a late 50s 5E3 Fender Tweed Deluxe amp, which I've got on loan from a pal, and which is just as good as the reputation says. It's great, it's great. So first off, I'm playing acoustic today. Sorry about all the mic stands in the picture. I haven't got any of those small table stands that sit on the floor and point upwards like a good BBC engineer would have. So I've got these bloody mic stands all over the place. So it's a bit like an electricity substation in here today. But I just wanted to show you a gadget that I've got. At the risk of embarrassing myself, I'm going to actually remove it from the guitar. First of all, I should say what I'm playing. I'm playing my small parlour-sized Russ Wooten acoustic. The story of this guitar is that he built this for somebody else some years ago, shipped it off to this guy in Scotland. The guy returned it with the headstock broken off. Now, whether it was broken in shipping or whether something more untoward was happening, I don't know. Not my business. But the guitar was broken. I'd played the guitar just before it had shipped to its owner. I really liked it, and I was rather sad that somebody else was buying it. When it came back broken, Russ was really quite distraught about it. I mean, he's a pretty sensitive guy, and he doesn't really want the hurly-burly of big business and stuff. Didn't really like the confrontation. And I said to him, well, what are you going to do with it? Probably fix it. And knowing what I do about guitars, I mean, okay, this guitar has a headstock break. It's had a headstock break since before I bought it. So I bought it in full knowledge, and he offered it to me for a very nice price. I knew it had been broken, but I also knew that guitars with headstock breaks are as good as, or the legend says, you know, with old Les Pauls and stuff, even better. So, I bought the guitar, a long time ago now, 10 years more, and I absolutely love it. It's tiny, it's fantastic to look at. I don't know if you can see here, but it's got the most amazing fiddleback maple body, back and sides. It's full of flame. It's got a spruce top, mahogany neck. Unlike my other Russ Wootens, it's got a flat peg head rather than a slotted peg head, which does frankly make it easier to restring. And it's got the most fantastic voice. It's really quite small and quite intimate. But I'm going to record, when I play it, I'm going to record this through mics for a change rather than the usual quick phone thing. See if we can capture the sound. Because what I want to show you on this guitar is this little thing here. This looks like a piece of wire. Right? It's really very flimsy. I'll post a close-up. It's called a quick draw Capo. And it does what you'd expect. It's a capo for raising the nut of a guitar. I sold a guitar recently to a rather nice gentleman in Essex. And while I was there, he showed me, he uses guitars in shows that require quite a lot of different tunings, and particularly different capoings. You know, some in E flat, E, F, G, and so on. And he showed me this, and I looked at it and thought, I can't believe it. He demonstrated it to me, and I just thought, I've got to have one. So I did a bit of research, and I found out that these things, they're made in, I think, New Hampshire. Yeah, they're made in New Hampshire by a company called Kaufman Music Accessories. Probably small business, don't know. They're imported into this country by a business up in Suffolk, near Diss, called PJ Music. A chap called Pete Cunningham, who very quickly dispatched one to me. They're not cheap. You know, a capo is going to set you back, what, 15, 20 quid these days? And these are about 22, 23 quid, so they're not cheap. When it arrived, I kind of looked at it and thought, wow, it's almost like it's made on someone's kitchen table. Because it's basically a bar that goes across the strings, covered in a piece of PVC sleeving, slightly glossy. And then at the end of the bar there's a hook that attaches to what looks like a bit of that kind of bendy, springy cable stuff that you hang net curtains on in windows, slightly extendable. And into the end of that is screwed what looks like just an eye hook. Right, so it's really pretty basic. It's not the easiest thing to mount on the guitar. I'll do it for you in real time now so you can have a laugh at my expense. You basically put the bar over it and then you pull the little loop. You pull it around like this. This is not the best angle to do it. There it is, it's on. And it hooks on. Again, I'll do some close-ups of this so you can see it in action. So, I'll just play a piece with in regular E tuning without the capo, and then I'll move the capo around a bit and see what you think of the demonstration. So here goes. This is really, I'm my own video engineer, sound engineer. I'm not very good at it either. So all to play for today, but see how it goes and see what you think. So that's open tuning, and you literally, the capo sits on the guitar, you just push it back behind the nut. So if I go up to G, 3rd fret, so I quite like this, working with this kind of tuning, because I grew up in a time when folk and folk rock was quite important. So a lot of my early heroes, people like John Martin, Al Stewart, Bert Jansch, John Renbourn, they all used to play clubs and they used to fiddle around with tunings and with different, capo positions on their guitars. And the lovely thing about playing with a capo is it gives you a 0 fret on the guitar, so it really brings your action down, so it makes the acoustic guitar easier to play. And you get this wonderful, higher register. I hope this is recording okay, because it's sounding pretty good in these headphones. And you can see, I'm literally sliding this thing up. If I slide it at the 5th fret, now things are getting a little bit cosy up here, because you can see I've only got a few frets left before I hit the body at the 12th fret. But, if you want to play, I know they're much discredited, but I used to listen to lots of Jethro Tull when I was young, and I used to love Ian Anderson's acoustic guitar playing. And he used to do lots of stuff on the 3rd and 5th, and even, dare I try it, now my fingers are too big for this, but now, you can hear I'm literally sliding this thing up and down the neck, and the tuning when I was up at the 7th was just a little bit fishy. I didn't retune it. I mean, if I was going to sit down and record properly, I'd obviously obsess with the tuning, with the tuner on the peg head and all the rest of it, get it really, really tight for whatever position of the capo I wanted. But you can hear just sliding up and down. It's the easiest thing. 3rd fret, 1st fret, 4th fret. Don't know what I use that for, but it's amazing. It slides up and down, and sometimes, as with all capos, you just have to be a little careful that the top and bottom strings don't, and you just need to seat it slightly. So you can see as I'm moving it, I'm just putting my finger on top of it and giving it a bit of extra pressure to seat it a bit better. The other thing is it's adjustable for different size necks, because this little eyelet that sits in the end of it, that hooks on, it's got a screw thread, so you can, if you tighten it up by half a turn or a turn, it increases the tension of the capo on the neck. So you can adjust it for different size necks. And I've tried it on all my acoustic guitars, and So I've got my 4 Russ Wootons, I've got some Guilds, I've got my Taylor, an old Epiphone. It works on all of them. The only thing it doesn't work on is the same guitars as pretty much every other bloody Capo doesn't work on. 12 strings. Because 12 strings have obviously got paired strings and one string's thick and the other one's thin. And unless you've got a very particular kind of rubber material across the bar, which is both very firm but also very capable of changing shape in very close proximity, a Capo isn't going to work on a 12 string. You always get buzz on those lower strings, which is a pity because Capo 12 strings sound amazing. But for Capos on 12 strings, you really probably need the kind of any Capo that's got a screw adjustable tension, so you can really get some push on it. And you might find, obviously, as you increase the tension, you stop the buzz, but you also push the strings out of tune, so then you need to retune it. So capoing a 12 string is always a bit more of a hassle. But for 6 strings, I've tried this on, I don't know, 8 or 10 acoustics quickly, and I happen to be demonstrating with this little chap because I love him. And I have to say, this thing, it may look like it was built by somebody on a kitchen table, but it works. I'd hazard to say it might not work any better than my other Capos, but it's much easier and quicker to use. And you can just push it over the end of the guitar. Now I'm back in relative open E. As you can see, I don't play a lot of acoustic, a bit rusty, but there you go. That is the quick draw Capo, available from PJ Music in Dis. I'll probably put the link on this video. I've got to say, it's great fun, thoroughly recommended, and I love playing with Capo sounds. You know, you can get all kinds of really great country voices. And by the way, if any of you have got a guitar set up for Nashville tuning, which is the octave strings of a 12 string, right? With a Capo, it doesn't have to be this Capo, but any Capo, oh, sounds amazing. In fact, I'll pause this video for a minute and I'll just put the Nashville on and you can have a quick listen before I go to reviewing that out because it sounds so amazing. Let's do it, okay? Back in a moment. Right, now what I'm playing here is a 1973-74 Guild D25M. So mahogany top, mahogany neck, Guild mid-range dreadnought acoustic guitar. I've had this for many, many years. I was the second owner. I bought it in about 75, something like that. And it was my main acoustic guitar for quite a long time. Plays pretty good. As it gets older, the bass gets a little tighter. It's got more ring and less flub, which is great. But a lot of the time I keep it set up in Nashville tuning, which is the high 6 strings of a 12-string guitar. And so this is what it sounds like. This is a regular open G in open tuning. C, G, D. So it kind of sounds a bit like a mandolin, a mandola, all those kind of things. But the purpose of this, I wanted to show you with this new Capo of mine. I just wanted to show you what a Nashville guitar, the Nashville tuned guitar sounds like with a Capo one, because wow. What they use these for, it's called Nashville tuning because they use it in Nashville, that's where it came from. And what they very often do is double a 6-string acoustic part with one of these, which gives a much more of sort of super produced Mutt Lange type sound, rather than trying to record it either 2 6 strings with all the flub or a 12 string with all the jangle and overtones and difficulties of exact tuning. So they get round it by using one of these, and they do sound fantastic. If you've got enough acoustic guitars hanging around, you don't even need to have a really good acoustic guitar to do it on. So they sound so good with the thin strings. You don't even need a really great acoustic guitar to do it on. If you've got a spare hanging around, try it. And economy tip, buy a 12-string set of strings, put the thick strings on your regular acoustic guitar and keep the thin strings and put them on your Nashville. And it's cheaper than buying a 6-string set for your 6-string and then trying to assemble a custom set string by string this way. So it's just a little economy measure as well if you want, but do try it, it's fantastic. Anyway, that's enough about acoustics today, and particularly this amazing little Capo. You know, going a little out of tune up there, but just a fantastic sound, fantastic different colour. Okay, part 2 in a second, which is about this gorgeous honey little tweed here. Back soon. Okay, as promised, I'm back. I've changed guitars and I've changed setup. The mics are still out, but the mics are now on the 5E3 Tweed Deluxe sitting behind me. And I'm playing one of my latest acquisitions, a Squire Indonesian Cabronita style guitar with filtertrons, which sound really good through this setup. So I'm not giving the amp any help here with a posh guitar. A very cheap, affordable guitar, cost me £240. And it's going straight into the amp with a cable. There's no trem, no reverb, nothing. It's a Tweed amp. It's in pretty good condition. I'll probably post a nice picture or two of it. It's in pretty good shape. You know, these late 50s Tweed amps, they sound fantastic, but they can get very ratty. They can get very threadbare and, you know, frayed and stuff. The Tweed gets very frayed. I mean, some of the best sounding ones actually are the worst looking ones. These amps are some of the most famous amps in the world. They're some of the most popular recorded rock amps in history. 15 watts, 2 6V6 tubes, 2 input channels, one for mic, one for instrument. I've got them jumpered because I prefer that configuration. It means you can mix the different darkness of the mic and instrument channels together. Then it's got a tone control and an on-off switch, and apart from a light, a fuse and a ground lift switch, that's it, it's basic. Jensen speaker, not original but an authentic replacement, but the owner has tried other speakers in this like Celestian Blues, which are more efficient and therefore make it louder, but not as sweet. The other thing I should say about the amp is I've seldom met an amp that's so fussy about sitting on the floor. Most of the time in here, like in the beginning of this video, you saw it sitting on top of my Deluxe here. That's just to stow it out of the way. And when you play it up there, it sounds fine, it sounds nice, but when you put it on the floor, it sounds fantastic. So the ground coupling effect, whatever it is, of an amp on the floor, I've seldom come across an amp which has where the floor has such a profound effect. It sounds really, really good. So I don't imagine this amp sounds particularly good tilted back or stuff. I think it's sort of, that's it. The other thing I would say is that this amp's from the late 50s, and as you know, I like guitars from the 50s as well. And I have been scratching my head since I've been playing old guitars through this amp as to exactly how far we as the guitar community have progressed in the last 60 years. Because obviously, in terms of technique, the music we play now is, they couldn't have even imagined it in the 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s. Couldn't have imagined it. But, and also, you know, the sounds that we've got, the effects we've got, you know, we had reverb and trem back in the day. We had everything from distortion and then fuzz, wah, decent vibrato, which was hard to find. The Magnatone amps had a sort of pitch shifting trem thing, but hard to find, unless you were in a studio. Programmable echo, so you can press a button and get exactly 365 seconds of delay and 4 repeats exactly, and all the rest of it in a multi-effects the size of a paperback book. Amazing. So in terms of consumer electronics, I think we've moved on as a society 1 billion years. And obviously all computerized and MIDI and everything. But in terms of tone, the basic fundamental tone, I could easily see a situation where if you put a gun to my head and said, get rid of all this clobber you've got, I could see a situation where I had one of those old Telecasters, and one of these old Tweed amps, and a cable. I think I could live with that. I think that could be a desert island rig. And none of it would be younger than 1960. Well, except the Capo. So, you know, makes you wonder, doesn't it? I think the sound sounds fantastic. I'm not sure if this recording is going to capture it faithfully, but I'm just going to play a few things, a bit twiddling around a bit for you, so you can just hear it. The Capo, as you know, has got two pickups, two Fidelitrons, which are Gretsch Fender's modern take on a Filtertron. Given the overall original retail price of this guitar, these pickups would have gone into the factory for about £3 each. So they're not high-end boutique stuff at all. The only mod I've done on this guitar is I've changed the value of the single control, the volume control. It was 250k and the neck pickup sounded very dark. I put it up to 500k and it sounded better. I put it up to 1 meg, which I wouldn't have in any other guitar, and it sounds better. It's still a little dark for my taste. Take that down, a little bit of distortion there. A little bit dark, but middle position, quite glinty, like it should be for a sort of Gretschy. Still a little dark. I'm going to take the amp down and the guitar up because so I'll describe what I'm hearing in the room and hope the recording's catching it for you. This amp sounds like a nice little tweed combo, low power combo. It responds quite well to being played hard. I mean, the input volumes are quite low at the moment, so it's not going to drive very much. But it's got somewhere in the kind of mid-range, it's got this fantastic kind of vocal warmth. So if I compare it to my Lazy J, which is basically a modern interpretation of a Tweed Deluxe, the Lazy J sounds really, really good. It's louder, it's clearer, and it is, you know, one of the best amps in the world. I mean, the reason Lazy J's, you know, there's a waiting list and they sell for high prices like hotcake is because they're really good amps. And they're not too loud, and you can pick them up with one hand and take them to a gig, etc. But if you compare this to the Lazy J, and it's probably as much the speaker as anything else, but this has a certain mid-range warmth. It just feels a bit more human, a bit like listening to a cello. You know, it's just got that kind of proximity and presence and warmth. You sort of want to have a chat with it. And it's just... and it's very responsive. You can hear when I started hitting it, it really shouts all of a sudden. And that's on the middle positions, that's the glinty one. If I go to the back pickup, quite trebly. It's kind of... country twangy thing. Remember, this is a Cabernet, it's not a telly, but still. It's just a really, really nice warm amp. Now, the trouble with demoing amps is I haven't got a lot of stuff, you know, pretty stuff to sort of talk to you about, because it's a box with a couple of tubes in it, and it's very old. It's been refurbished quite recently, so it's not noisy and crackly. A little bit of hum, but nothing to worry about. These things, there was an exhibition, a guitar show on the west coast of America just in the last few days in the Bay Area, and there was a dealer there who was displaying a number of vintage blackface and tweed Fender amps, including some little champs. The champs he was asking kind of $3,500 for. That's for a little 4-watt amp, like one of these. If you can see this little chap here, narrow panel tweed, which is pretty fantastic amount of money for something that's only got an on-off click on a volume control. But it was the amp that Layla was recorded on. These Deluxes are famous for being on, you know, recordings of everything. And there's one particular story where Donald Fagen invited Larry Carlton to go in and do the sessions for the Nightfly. Larry Carlton flew in to New York from the West Coast, turned up with his guitars, and Fagen says, "Where's the amp?" Well, I didn't bring the amp. Send for it, have it shipped. I'm not recording you unless you're playing through an amp. And Donald Fagen had a particular favourite, one of these Deluxe tweed amps, that basically he wouldn't record Larry Carlton unless Larry had that amp. And you know, having listened to the record, it does sound utterly fantastic, whether it's, you know, great player, great gear, great studio, great band leader, everything at once, but it does sound absolutely fantastic. I have to say, I'm really rather smitten with this, but the price in the Bay Area for these last week was $10,000. Now, that's an exhibition price and he's not going to get it, okay? Supposing he sees $8,500 for a 15-watt tweed amp. The market is hot. For the best stuff, the market is really hot. For the rest of it, the market's softening, but the market's hot. So there you go. A little bit of fun today. First of all, a slightly weird but incredibly effective capo. And secondly, a stroke of luck in being lent this fantastic late 50s Fender Tweed Deluxe 5E3, that's the model designation, for a few days, which has really opened my eyes to just, yeah, as usual, what the fuss is all about. If you have the opportunity to sit with these things for a few hours, you can work it out for yourself, and you might go, nah, not for me, can't hear it, waste of money, happens to me quite a lot. Other times you kind of plug in and you go, oof, ooh, I want to do this. And after a few minutes you go, I get it, I see. And this is one of those. So, hope you've enjoyed this, me blathering on. I'm going to have to edit this down because it's far too long, but hope you enjoyed the finished product. Ramon and I are going to be back very soon. We're going on amp safari next time, and we're going to have some fantastic vintage amps to make a loud amount of din in. So we'll see you then very soon. Bye-bye.